Hey, what's up, everybody? So today began week 2 of Packers OTA, so I want to cover and talk about all of the things that happened today, lots of different updates from today's practice and a few other things as well. And if you guys are new here, you want to stay up to date with all things Packers, that's what I post on this channel, so make sure your notifications are turned on, so that way anytime I make Packers news, Packers content, you get notified right away. So first off, the biggest storyline from today I think has to do with David Bakhtiari. I already made an entire video on it a little earlier today, so if you want to see that whole thing, feel free, you can go check that out after this video. But basically, the Packers are holding David Bakhtiari out of OTAs. He's just working with the rehab group, and Matt LaFleur said that was sort of their plan all along to keep him out. Of course, suffering his ACL tear basically a year and a half ago now. And Matt LaFleur said he's hopeful he'll be ready for training camp. So hopefully that ACL tear will heal up fully and he'll be able to get back to his former self. But right now, it seems like the Packers are sort of playing it safe because he doesn't really need to be out there and fully practicing. Then here we have from Matt Schneidman, who says, players I don't see today. And first off, Matt LaFleur did say there are some players who didn't make it because there are some flight delays, but they'll be here later in the week, so some of these guys might be mixed in here as well. But here is the list. Amari Rodgers, Sammy Watkins, Aaron Rodgers, Lazard, Jair, Patrick Taylor, Adrian Amos, Rashawn Gary, Jonathan Garvin, Randy Ramsey, Mercedes Lewis, Preston Smith, and then Bakhtiari, Tunyon, Jenkins, Hill, and Lowry, and Patuto in rehab group. So those are the different players who weren't there and then guys who were currently in rehab. And then here we have from Ryan Wood, Eric Stokes and Rasul Douglas are rotating reps, blocking the gunner on punt return and gunner on punt. Going to be interesting to see how many starters are in special teams once camp opens. So with Rich Bisaccia, now the Packers special teams coordinator, as Ryan Wood said, it is going to be interesting to see, how much the Packers decide to use their starters on special teams, because there are some teams in the NFL that like to use lots of their starters, which makes sense. Those guys are more talented, but at the same time, you are risking injury. So the Packers will have to decide, how much they want to use their starters on special teams. But I do think, even though always special teams has been an emphasis, especially this year with how bad the Packers were last year, bringing in a new coach, it really seems like the Packers are doing everything they possibly can to improve the special teams unit, which I definitely think is important considering sort of how things went, especially at the end of last year in the 49ers game. Then here we have another one from Ryan Wood. Sean Davis getting first-team reps beside Darnell Savage with Adrian Amos not present, which would make him Packers' third safety at this point, which means currently, with him lining up there today, he's ahead of Vernon Scott as well as Ennis Gaines. So Sean Davis was a fifth-round pick by the Colts back in 2021, joined the Packers practice squad last September, and I've talked in some videos prior. It's like we know Darnell Savage, Adrian Amos, both solid starters, but outside of there are some question marks as to, what the Packers will do at safety. And so it is interesting to see Sean Davis, being that guy, being that third safety right now. And we'll see if that continues. Will Vernon Scott be able to push his way ahead of Davis? We will see. But of course, another guy who left this offseason, Henry Black, who was sort of the backup safety mainly last year. So Sean Davis getting some work there. And then here we have a quote from Packers safeties coach about Sean Davis in the past couple weeks. This is from Packers Wire. Explosiveness, athletic ability, and being able to process. And then continuing to build on call command and being able to trust. You're going to put us into the right thing, Downward said Wednesday. He's starting to show all those things, and he's just continued that this spring. So Sean Davis looks to be taking some steps forward for the Packers. And then we have here from Ryan Wood. Packers' first offensive line without Bakhtiari or Elton Jenkins remains Nyman, Runyon, Myers, Newman, and Van Lennon. Royce Newman also getting some right tackle reps with Jake Hansen filling at right guard. Real battle begins with Bakhtiari when Bakhtiari returns, and Yosh Nijman starts getting right tackle reps. So that is one big thing to watch this entire offseason coming into training camp as the Packers prepare for the season is what is this offensive line going to look like? Hopefully, as I said earlier, Bakhtiari will be healthy and ready to go, which I feel like everyone expects considering his injury happened so long ago, so hopefully that's the case. And then with Bakhtiari there at left tackle, as he said, Nyman right now playing left tackle, but it's likely that Nyman will flip over to right tackle. Nyman did play really, really well last year when he did fill in at left tackle. Played 590 snaps last season, 2021. Only allowed 3 sacks. And then one other interesting note, with Cole Van Lennon playing over there at right tackle, Packers 2021 6th-round draft pick, he did play at left tackle at Wisconsin, I think 19 of his 45 games. And so maybe he could also, be some right tackle depth as well. And then we have Jake Hansen filling in at right guard, center, drafted by the Packers in the 6th round of the 2020 NFL draft. So right now it really seems the Packers aren't really using their rookies as some of the guys who are getting first-team reps, which makes sense. They probably have to learn the playbook, sort of figure everything that's going on. But I would assume eventually guys like Sean Ryan, Zach Tom, players who seem to be very solid players, who the Packers drafted, rounds 3 and later, Those guys are probably, I would say, going to push ahead of, Cole Van Lannon, Jake Hansen, most likely. I mean, nothing's a given, but that's sort of what it seems like. And so we'll have to wait and see and continue to see, which players are getting these snaps. But the biggest question mark, I think, is right tackle. Right now with Elgton Jenkins, still dealing with his ACL tear. Of course, he was initially a guard, but he can sort of play everything. And so it's possible that when he comes back, he does play right tackle. But we'll have to wait and see sort of how this entire offensive line shakes out. Then here we have from Ryan Wood. Keyshawn Nixon getting a lot of slot reps when Packers are a nickel. With Rasul Douglas and Eric Stokes on perimeter, easy to see Jair Alexander sliding into the slot when he returns. So one of the newer Packers players, Keyshawn Nixon, who was added this offseason from the Las Vegas Raiders when he was signed, there was sort of a big emphasis on his special teams ability with him previously, playing for Rich Bisaccia on special teams. But he did also spend some time at corner. That is his actual position. 5'10", 193 pounds. Last season, if we take a look at his 80 defensive snaps, 50 of those were from the slot. So it looks like he could, as he's already, getting slot reps for this Packers D, maybe he can be hopefully a solid backup cornerback. Because as we've stated consistently, this Packers starting cornerback group is really stacked. And so hopefully Keyshawn Nixon can provide some, solid depth there. Then we have here from Ryan Wood, Packers still have Chris Barnes repping ahead of Quay Walker alongside Devondre Campbell with starting defense subject to change. And then we have here under that, speaking of Quay Walker, guy can move, just burst through left side of the offensive line for what would have been an easy sack of Kurt Benkert. Real test is what he does in pads, but athleticism is clear. So Ryan Wood stating that Chris Barnes is still getting, starting reps ahead of Quay Walker, but it makes sense for all these rookies. They're going to, have to learn and sort of earn that right to be on the first team. And right now with Chris Barnes already having a couple of years, in this Packers defense, it makes sense that he is still there. But with just how talented Quay Walker is, the fact that Packers spent the number 22 overall pick on him, I would just assume eventually he's going to push aside Chris Barnes. Most likely that would be my guess, but we will have to wait and see, sort of watch what develops there. And then finally here from Matt Schneidman. Play of the day so far just now, Kurt Benkert with a dime in the win for a big gain down the left sideline to Romeo Doubs, who made a really nice back shoulder grab of a former fellow number 87, Jordy Nelson. So from this past week and this week, it seems like Romeo Doubs has been looking really solid, making some really solid catches. And, with him being a 4th-round draft pick, with Christian Watson being a 2nd-round draft pick, I feel like lots of people expect Watson to be that guy because the Packers did come in, draft him, trade up early the 2nd round, that he'll be the guy to, be the best, I guess, the soonest. But at the same time, with Romeo Doubs and sort of how he's looked so far, it's going to be interesting to watch and see, sort of how him and Christian both develop and sort of how they fit into this Packers wide receiver room. And I feel like this entire offseason coming into training camp, it's all about, watching these position battles, watching to see, which players push ahead of other guys, which guys are learning the fastest, which guys are growing the fastest. So it's always exciting to watch and see sort of who's pushing themselves up the ranks. But I'll keep you guys up to date with all things Packers. That was from today, all the reports that I saw, the biggest things I wanted just to cover here. And I'll stay up to date with any time, there's Packers news. I try to put it out on this channel. So stay tuned, subscribe if you guys want to see more Packers content. Here's my social media if you guys would like to follow me on Instagram and Twitter. But that is all for today. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.